science fiction television programs of the 1950s and 1960s. Let's talk about that.
Man Up with Mark. Mark talks about everything under the sun. You may agree with him, and again, you may not.
Okay, several episodes ago, I did a series of my top 10 picks for the science fiction movies in each decade, starting with the 50s and going all the way to the 2010s. So, I'm going to do something similar to that with a couple of variations. One, it's not really going to be a top 10 list, because some of the decades of science fiction television programs, there weren't 10 of them that I could pick. There weren't 10 of them available that I actually watched, because in the 50s, I was too young to watch TV, and hell, we as a family probably didn't have a TV until I was born in 1956. My dad was one of those late to catch on to that fad called television. But in the 60s, I started watching television with my brothers and sisters. So started watching a lot of the different television programs that were out there. We had all of the different programs that we liked, different, drama programs or comedy programs or the westerns that were out there, the variety shows. We only had, I think at first in the early 60s, pretty much through the 60s, I think we only had 2 television stations that we could pick from in my hometown. I think it was channel 3 and 7. One was an NBC affiliate, and the other one was either ABC or CBS. That was it. That's all that Rapid City had. Until the late 60s when PBS rolled around. Then we got that channel. But for the most part, there were what television to be seen was seen on those couple of stations that we had. So we did watch, the westerns and the detective dramas, the variety shows. Ed Sullivan, come on, everybody watched Ed Sullivan. 1964, The Beatles, yeah. Of course, every Sunday, the family had to watch Lawrence Welk. What else was there? But when it came to science fiction TV programs, it was pretty much myself and my brothers. And as we all grew up, it ended up just being myself watching those types of programs until I grew up and moved out of the house. And I continued watching those type of programs as a single man, as a married man, as a father of 1, 2, and 3, and to this day, still watching science fiction. I do like science fiction. So, for this first episode about science fiction television programs, we're going to talk about the 50s and the 60s. In a nutshell, there really wasn't anything in the 50s. I think there were probably, a half a dozen different science fiction shows. That was even a half of an air quote. I only gave that a half of an air quote, just so that you know. But there wasn't much out there. There was, Commander Cody, Flash Gordon. That's about it. There were other little serials that were attached to other programs, but, they're not worth mentioning, really. And again, they were the 50s, and I wasn't watching those in the 50s. And even if they had reruns in the 60s, I really wasn't watching those programs that ran in the 50s. In the 60s, that's when I started watching TV. Science fiction TV, to be exact. The programs that I'll be mentioning aren't in any particular order. They're not a top 10 list because, again, like I said, some of these decades didn't have 10, so we'll go from there. Other decades had way more than 10, and I watched them all, and I liked them all. So let's get going with the 60s. First one, The Twilight Zone.
You unlock this door with the key of imagination. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sight. A dimension of mind. You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Rod Serling. Come on, with a name like Rod Serling, you gotta have a science fiction, supernatural, mysterious type of program. It just goes with the name. And that was a good show. It was a good variation of different type of sci-fi / supernatural / who knows what the hell it is type of shows. Each week had a different theme, had a different subject. I liked that. It was really good. This next one, The Invaders.
The Invaders. Starring Roy Finnis as architect David Vincent.
The Invaders. Alien beings from a dying planet. Their destination, the Earth. Their purpose, to make it their world. David Vincent has seen them. For him, it began one lost night on a lonely country road looking for a shortcut that he never found. It began with a closed, deserted diner and a man too long without sleep to continue his journey. It began with the landing of a craft from another galaxy. Now, David Vincent knows that the invaders are here, that they have taken human form. Somehow he must convince a disbelieving world that the nightmare has already begun.
Yeah, Roy Finnis. Yeah, I was always rooting for that guy. And the invaders were cool. They looked like us. They were humans that would disintegrate once you killed them. It's pretty cool. I didn't realize that the glow that they gave off when they were dying was actually red, because when I was watching it in my house, we just had a black and white TV at the time. In fact, all of these programs that we're watching through the 60s was all black and white, because that's the only TV that we had. Lost in Space.
From the world of tomorrow comes a thrilling new television series, Lost in Space. Here are the amazing adventures of a group of space pioneers marooned on an uncharted planet. Adventure as challenging as tomorrow, as far out as the stars. Spectacle beyond imagination, as the astronauts struggle for survival in a strange new world, where incredible dangers seem to wait at every turn. Intriguing, thrilling, challenging. These are the adventures you will share. Lost in Space.
Yeah, this was kind of like a remake of the Swiss Family Robinson. In fact, the family on this spacecraft, they were called the Robinsons. Oh, what a coinky-dink. And of course, you always have to have a bad guy on there that screws everything up. Hey, in fact, this guy was the reason why they got lost in space. Dr. Zachary Smith. You know, that name just sounds rotten. Smith. Where have I heard that name before? The next sci-fi television program? Star Trek.
Adventures beyond the imagination. Star Trek, with William Shatner as captain of a craft on an incredible assignment, and Leonard Nimoy as his officer, who is more than human. Star Trek.
I've got to admit, when Star Trek started, I really didn't start watching that program. I don't know if maybe there was another program on the other channel that we had that was conflicting with it. I can't remember. I didn't start getting into Star Trek until the second season. Yeah, first season was pretty much a blur to me. So I've had to watch that in reruns over the years. And yeah, you know, Star Trek, for the time, was cool. And if we would have had a color TV, I know, I'm going to bitch about that a lot for the 60s. If we had color TV, it probably would have been a lot cooler. But we watched it anyways. When I say we during all of this, I'm talking about myself and my two older brothers. I have three older brothers, but during the 60s, my oldest brother was out living large because he was already graduated from high school and going to college. So that's how old my family is. That's how old I am. This next program was probably my brother John's favorite sci-fi movie of that time. Outer Limits.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission. We will control the horizontal. We will control the vertical. We can change the focus to a soft blur or sharpen it to crystal clarity. For the next hour, sit quietly and we will control all that you see and hear. You are about to participate in a great adventure. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the inner mind to the outer limits.
Yeah, my brother John loved that shit. They were good. They were... The format was similar to The Twilight Zone, where you had each week was a different subject, was a different theme. So each week you were, excited to see what type of sci-fi thing it had. And The Outer Limits was more, well, I'm going to say technically more sci-fi than The Twilight Zone was. Twilight Zone had some supernatural stuff in there. Outer Limits, strictly sci-fi. Now, for the next program, it was probably the one that I liked and my brother liked an awful lot. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
The Seaview, the fantastic submarine of the future, exploring the uncharted ocean floor. Join the men of the Seaview as they encounter supernatural beings. Mysterious islands.
This whole island's a volcano. If it goes, we go too.
And strange phenomena that affect even the crew.
I've received my orders. Destroy the Seaview, and I'm going to carry them out. Stay where you are. thing from that cloud.
Come aboard the Seaview for a voyage to the bottom of the sea. A voyage into the unknown.
Yeah, the Seaview was cool. Especially with that mini sub that would fly in and out of the ocean, kind of like a UFO. Kind of like what you see nowadays in those videos of those Air Force people, and they're taking videos of alien craft going in and out of the ocean. Hell, that could have been the Seaview's mini sub. I can't remember what they called that mini sub. I know it had a name of its own. I mean, the submarine was called the Seaview. It was a futuristic, nuclear-run submarine. But that little mini submarine flying saucer thing, what was that called? Hey, if you out there know, send me a comment. Please enlighten me. And last but not least, the time tunnel.
Fantastic invention which cost billions of dollars, the time tunnel. But what does it cost a man to face the incredible dangers of the past or the unknown secrets of the future?
Titanic.
That is impossible. The ship is unsinkable.
This ship is dead, and so is everyone on board unless you give immediate orders to lower the lifeboats. Freeze them!
Accelerate power!
Wherever he and Doug are now, at least they're together.
But where?
We couldn't begin to guess. The time tunnel.
Yeah. Cool. You know, time travel. Secret lab under the ground. Yeah, oh, spooky stuff. Dipshit young guy thinks he's a hot stud and wants to make the machine work, and everybody else wants to, hold back, we're not ready yet. Nah, he's going to go in there and show what he knows. And off he goes into time. And, you know, the story goes that every time they get into a position where they can grab him with that machine in the present time and freeze him, and then they power up and send them off to another location. They're basically trying to get them back to the present time, but every time they power up the machine and do their thing, it just sends them to another location at another time. And the ensuing happenings happen for the next episode. So that was a good program, and I enjoyed that a lot. Bad thing about the time tunnel is it only lasted one season. Yeah, always happens that the ones that are pretty good only last a short amount of time. All the rest of the programs during the 70s that I mentioned, you know, at least they had 3 to 5 seasons that they lasted. So, you know, they lasted through the 60s pretty good. Technically, the Twilight Zone did start in the 50s. It was 1959, but it ran all the way for like 5 seasons. So, it, you know, I guess technically you could call it a 1950s program, but I'm going to call it a 1960s, whether you like it or not. Hey, let me know what you thought about this episode. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Let me know if I missed a science fiction television program that you remember back during those times. If you would, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Also, please donate to my Patreon. That Patreon address is patreon.com/manupwithmark. Throw me a few bucks to keep this stupid-ass podcast going. I'd appreciate it. Also, you can always email me at mark@manupwithmark.com. Till tomorrow. See ya.
If you have a question or comment, email Mark at manupwithmark.com.